First, context about myself, who am I? I'm a 20-year-old, I'm a student right now, but my name is Mishaal. I'm a spoken word performer and hip-hop artist. I was 11 years old when I first started writing raps and music and making music. And even younger when I started writing, I started uploading my stuff to YouTube when I was 12 years old or 13. And I started writing raps initially just as another form of kind of poetry, as a form of self-expression. And but my rap started reflecting what I was thinking and the information I was kind of taking in. So in the beginning, they were very political in nature. You know, I was a 13-year-old, I was kind of angry with the political sphere and the environment. And then they kind of started exploring identity issues, you know. I kind of grew up all over the place, so I was asking myself in my raps, am I British, am I Scottish, am I Pashtun? I realized now, looking back, my music was sort of me creating my own narrative or kind of crafting my own identity. And that is kind of now looking back in hindsight, I realized sort of the power of having the ability to do that. Music allows you, and arts and self-expression in general, allows you to explore parts of yourself and create your own narrative and kind of structure your own identity in a way that you kind of, so you can fit yourself in the world how you see it. So my hijab was just another aspect of my identity when I was younger. And I realized from a young age I was kind of breaking stereotypes. So like in Glasgow, a young teen wearing a hijab, 13 years old, writing rhymes. I was, many times people were laughing. Not in a bad way, but it was just unexpected. And to me that kind of wasn't necessarily something negative, but something positive, because it represented, when people looked at me, they no longer saw just the hijab as people do with many Muslim women. You know, if you wear a hijab, they kind of, or if you're practicing, they view your religion as your sole identity, and it kind of objectifies you in a way. So to me, from a young age, it felt like I was my own person, I was my own individual. So it's kind of 9 years onwards, I'm still doing the same thing, and it's kind of this journey that I'll be exploring in this talk. And kind of drawing from it how kind of vital it is that everyone in the Muslim community values expression and self-expression. So yeah, that'll be the aim of my talk. So just to clarify, I'm kind of taking it from the music perspective, but I want to make sure that people know that self-expression incorporates everything. It's kind of anything, traditionally arts, writing, but even if it's, you know, karate, even if it's sports, that also counts within that sphere. So anything you feel like represents you, or anything you feel like you want to do, that's what it is. So self-expression kind of serves two dual purposes. Firstly, obviously, it's the ability to let loose your thoughts and emotions and craft your personal identity, like I was saying in the beginning. But additionally, and this is kind of very vital within especially the Muslim community, additionally, it allows you to kind of set precedent for both yourself, but for the wider community, and let people know that it's okay for you to do that. Because I don't know about kind of the Muslim community maybe in England, but in Scotland where I grew up, it wasn't the norm to pursue arts. My friends that did it, they were very, you know, their parents weren't accepting of it, you know. They were told to do it as a hobby, but then go to school for medicine, for law, and you know, other acceptable professions. And so you have people that could potentially be amazing fashion designers and, you know, the next big, you know, musician, the next big artist. And yet they're left doing something that they're not passionate about because of their community and because of their environment. So like to expand on that, it's the idea is that the self is a dynamic state of becoming. We need a space to reflect and experiment with our views. So this is similar to, for example, when we're children and we engage in play. You know, when we're children and we go to nurseries and we play with our friends, psychologists kind of consider that as a form of self-development and learning about your environment and learning about who you are, and that's how you kind of, you know, explore the world around you. As we obviously become adults and we grow older, we obviously leave that behind, but arts and self-expression kind of serve as a way of, as an addition to that, kind of as a continuation of that. And it's unfortunate that, we don't really pursue that. A lot of us don't pursue that. Yeah, the journey of self-discovery is the most important journey we can take, and self-expression is the pathway. We can only truly understand ourselves by exploring who we are deep down inside, but by depriving our friends and our children and the people within our wider community of that chance, we are telling ourselves and other people that not only do we not know who we are, but we don't have the agency to explore who we are. And I think that's a big problem, not problem, but it has been an issue, especially within the Muslim community, because of kind of the issues with, traditionalism and stuff like that. Yeah. So, why is it so important? Other than just expressing yourself, why is it so important? Well, once again, from the perspective of the Muslim community, when there's a lack of self-identity, it can create a sort of extreme counterculture. When people don't feel like they have a sense of belonging in something and they don't feel like they belong anywhere, they kind of go to another extreme. And that's where a lot of studies that explore terrorism, that's where a lot of kind of the enticement from terrorist organizations come through, because a lot of people feel like they don't have, they don't belong to their original ethnicity, where their, great-great-great-grandparents came from. A lot of people feel like they don't belong to their, to Britain or to Scotland or to England. Largely, not because they don't feel like they belong, but largely because of expression, because when they look at the media, they don't see themselves represented. When they want to pursue music and arts, they're shunned and they're told that not to. So as a result, there's kind of this creation of conflicting identities, and they feel like they don't belong to either. And then you have terrorist organizations come through and they say stuff like, well, we can leave all of that, you belong to one ummah, one community, and that is that creation of counterculture. And it's not only unique to Muslims. A lot of I've read a lot of articles talking about how it's kind of a similar phenomenon with gang culture and violent crimes, where if people feel like they don't belong, they kind of resort to that. So yeah, and then these are just some studies that kind of expand on this. So some data. So the process of forging a reactive ethnicity in the face of perceived threats, persecution, discrimination, and exclusion, so exclusion is the main one, is not uncommon. And second generation youth who have experienced discrimination or expect to face discrimination in the future are less likely than other groups of second generation youth to identify themselves as part of the mainstream. So yeah. And then there's another. This was quite interesting. This was the Social Mobility Commission. It was published by them in a report where they asked kind of people anonymously what their thoughts were on social mobility. And as you can see here, this girl is saying, actually, I watched this documentary once about all these people who were terrorist sympathizers, and what I noticed about them all was that they all thought they didn't have an identity and they didn't know how to quite fit in. Now, how does this link into self-expression? Self-expression allows people to create an identity for themselves. It allows people to not feel like they have to choose one or the other. They are themselves, and they're creating that as they kind of live. Yeah. So, with that in mind, why do we stifle creativity? Why, considering all the benefits of it, why do we, especially as a community, stifle it? I think everyone sort of knows the answer to this. It's quite multifaceted. Firstly, there's very few Muslim role models in the media. So a lot of Muslim people, especially youth, they look up to people that are like them and that they can relate to. So an aspiring writer, an aspiring musician, they look in the media and they see no one that looks like them, that talks like them. They don't have a sense of belonging. They don't relate, and as a result, they then, partly because of that and because of parental pressures and community pressures, they don't pursue what they want to pursue. And so it's a cyclical effect. It's a cycle, and the only way to kind of break that cycle is individualized kind of effort. How do we pursue what we love, and then how do we encourage our friends, our family, our parents to pursue what they love? But also there's another big issue. You have a lot of people that believe Islam and the arts are not compatible. A lot of people believe that music is haram and expressing yourself is a waste of time. And that is, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people's opinion, it's quite misguided and uninformed. Is Islam compatible with the arts? I mean, you only have to look at the Quran. It's poetry and prose. The adhan, the call to prayer. It's very melodic. When we recite the Quran, we recite it. We're encouraged to recite it melodiously. Even the language the Quran is revealed in is so poetic. So when we look at the kind of culture or foundation of the religion, so much of it is self-expression, and so when people say that they're not related, it's kind of taking away from the essence of the religion itself. So that was kind of, not necessarily negatives, but with that being said, there is a new era. There are so many new kind of poets and rappers and performers taking stage. People are rising up. People are kind of doing what they want to do and expressing themselves. So yeah, thank you.